Once again, it's that time, people. This is comedy. How we doing? It's been a weird week, huh? A little spooky out this bitch. I'm not talking about Halloween. We're a little far away from that. I don't know what the fuck to think anymore. Left and right, seems like we're going back to that era of cancel culture. You've got to wonder, who are they coming for next? You, me, your favorite podcast, or even just your general source of entertainment or information. Where's that line going to get drawn? It's hard to know. I don't have a crystal ball, the same as anybody else. We're all just kind of guessing at this point. That's the best you can do. Kimmel getting canceled. I'm kind of in that camp of, I don't want to say the majority of people, but there's a very vocal portion of people who are prefacing their upsetness by saying, I wasn't a fan, but... And I really like how Sam Hyde made a point of people who they try to tote their own personal righteousness in the situation. For me, I have no horse in that race, right? I have no relationship to him. But objectively, you just see the situation and recognize, sure, they're not scientists working on groundbreaking cures to the things that have been plaguing our society for generations, like cancer. But it is a job for most people. There's a crew that works on the show. I did see some of the people who were scheduled to come and do their episode or whatever were inconvenienced. They found out at a bad time that, oh yeah, you won't be actually coming on. There's an indefinite suspension. And while it is fucking scary that kind of shit can happen, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be surprising to any of these people that you're not impervious to the hand. You don't have to bite it. Sometimes it just kicks you to the curb and says, fuck you. Most people think that there's a way out by going to some of these other third-party platforms where they offer you a deal. You do a profit split, whether it's Patreon, YouTube, Spotify, which I'm on all three, by the way. Be sure to check us out on each platform that's best for you. Don't feel obligated to go on every single platform and follow or leave comments. None of that is super important to me. If you want to engage about something because you are actually checking it out, by all means, because I will engage with you. If you look at my YouTube, in fact, I think you'll see I have a pretty healthy track history of anybody who, whether it's just a small comment or whatever, I'll leave you at least, a like and a heart. I don't interact with every single post in terms of a back and forth dialogue, but sometimes the comments you guys leave me are so fucking funny, or, just right on the nose, I have to give you the credit that's due. But, yeah, I digress. None of these platforms are safe for you to try and build an empire around freely. And it's not me trying to say I endorse any type of speech whatsoever. I don't want people to be able to pay $4.99 a month to listen to some white guy talk about how he hates black people and he's worshiping Hitler or whatever. I don't even really want that to be, not that I want speech to be limited or taken away, but man, it was really rough reading some of those tweets from Kanye a few months back. And when the Heil Hitler song came out, that was fucking insane. I remember somebody who, they're a piece of shit, who gives a fuck about him, right? Just some loser. Really. But, this guy was an avid Kanye fan, just worshipped the ground that the guy fucking walked on. Probably would have, relived that song in Cousins if he had the opportunity. They wanted to act that out. Just a fantasy about this guy. Had no clue that this song even existed, and then tried to double back and act like, oh yeah, Kanye is making some tough choice. But before he had any knowledge or was called out on that, it was all like, oh yeah, Kanye is such a visionary, I'd vote for him for president if I could. And what kind of fucking logic is that? Because he made College Dropout, you think he's good enough to run the country? You have no right voting in a civilized society if that's the way you think. You should probably just stay to your fucking e-girl porn and your Fortnite. Don't leave your little bubble or your little fleshlight, okay? But really, nobody is safe on any of these platforms. Even if you paywall shit and say the crazier shit behind the paywall, nobody's safe. It doesn't guarantee you anything. That should matter to you. It shouldn't just be some joke or an easy option. Really think about the consequences of you finding partners in an uneasy climate where nothing is stable and hoping they're gonna back you when you say the craziest shit imaginable. And you can't just label everything satire. You can try to, but when it comes to tit for tat or blow for blow, when you have to analyze every piece of information case by case, boil down the context, see if there are any through lines, it starts to get a little scary. And I guess I should finish the point that I don't support Kimmel getting canceled. Yeah, I am in that camp that, like I was trying to say, I've never been a big fan. I don't think he should be canceled. I don't think that guy is bad enough to be canceled. But late night and television as a medium is dying anyway. There's really only a certain portion of the population which I don't want to just be cutthroat about it. But I don't think in 20 years people are going to be saying, oh man, why don't I have pre-programmed TV from a company like Cox Communications, which I still will never understand why telecommunications and cable provider, blah, blah, why they would name themselves after what's between my legs. But, there's all these providers. You have DirecTV for satellite, and I could go on and on. In 20 years, do these companies even exist anymore? Do they desperately try to find partnerships because they've built up privatized content? HBO was smart to get on that bandwagon early. They're kind of secured. They don't have to worry about having a channel. They do have premium channels, but they aren't as nervous about the future compared to some of these other entities where, DirecTV is giving them a cut to have a premium channel on their network and give them access to that content. But it's tough to see those companies sticking around as the people who use them are people from, again, without sounding too dismissive, but they're from a different time, where the way that you can access things now has changed dramatically. If you look at people 40 and under, they're primarily using technology. They're not coming home to sit in front of a TV and let something else think for them, where they just kind of channel flip or look at a guide. No, they're going into an app and they're picking something that they want to watch. And that's okay. The only hang-up, really, are kind of live events, but that's being solved too. Even though there was just that big hang-up between YouTube and the NFL, I think. Pretty sure that's who it was. About having the games not get blacked out and all this shit. There's so much red tape that you have to navigate through just to, I guess, make money or make it profitable or justify it to yourself and other people. And that's what I mean, is that I don't think these companies are going to be justifiable anymore because they already won a lot of money. They're a pain in the ass to talk to. It's not even about whether the customer service is outsourced. It's just common people don't ever really seem to understand or recognize that how they treat the people in their community does dictate the success of their company in the long term. And while they might have some type of temporary safety net, realistically, that doesn't sustain itself unless you're doing the little part you have with every single interaction that comes your way. And again, that's a lot to ask of people, right? But if you split that hair a little differently, it's really not. It's just kind of asking you to do what you can in the moment instead of what you can't. I'll tell you a fucking story about what happened to me yesterday. I had a plan, okay? On a beautiful Friday, well, not too beautiful, but beautiful enough. I needed to go and set up a new account, right? And I called ahead, spoke with somebody in the morning, told me it'd be no problem, just come in, or I could even do it online, but I'm old school. And I want to make a day of it. So I get in my car, I go for a drive, I go to the place, and it's a problem. This is how fucking weird and antisocial we as a people are getting. The chick behind the counter, she greets me over, and her first instinct is to turn me away. I mean this. And I try to explain to her, and she kind of pushes back. Well, the person that I'd have see you, they're seeing someone right now. And the first thought I have, because if I'm them, I'm just going to go ask and see if they'll have time, right? Nip this whole conversation in the bud. Probably prompt it a little politely with, hey, let me go check on that. Just hang on with me for a brief moment. Is that okay? And that's not what happened. And, I just kind of politely asked, well, I mean, I just drove here and I was told I'd be able to do this. Is there any way you could just go ask if they would have time? And she looked at me like I was the stupidest motherfucker on this planet. And I could tell I overloaded her brain. Like she was having a meltdown internally. Because for her, it was an insane request that, I can walk 7 footsteps and just check with somebody if this is going to be okay. And no, that's not what happened. And rather than insist upon the moment, right? Because that's what somebody who's entitled would do. And most people do that. They'll get upset or loud or maybe not even any of that. They'll just be passively demanding. And I stopped all that and said, you know what? It's okay. I can see you don't want to do that. I'm just gonna leave. I'll try the other location. Have a nice day. Because the only control I have in that moment is to either let this person bother me, ask for a manager, and make it a bigger deal than it needs to be, or, you know what I mean, just... And I chose not to care. I chose to not give a fuck. And I even called ahead to the other location and just tried to double check. By the time I got there, I was still on hold. And I walked in, and the person I spoke to... Imagine walking in, nobody greeting you, and this is supposed to be the main facility. And then the person that is supposed to talk to you looks at you dead behind the eyes as if you are a fucking worthless rat who doesn't belong in there. You know what she says to me? Do you need something? And the first thought I had is, who in the fuck are you talking to? I don't give a fuck who anybody thinks they are anymore. And I don't have to lose my shit on anybody, because that's just a bad look for me at the end of the day. But sometimes it feels like people are insane and they're trying to lure something out of you in a mischievous way. And I don't need anybody terrorizing my security, my happiness. So I really just wanted to walk out at that point, but I'd taken the time to come here and I really didn't want to take no for an answer. So I just stepped forward and said, yeah, this is what I was told, and I went to the other place, and I really just want to set up an account like I was told I could do this morning. And she didn't want to even fucking hear it. Her response immediately was, well, we're close to closing, so. And I said, okay, I'd just like to speak to the manager to make a complaint. And, to be real, I did ask her, are you the manager? And she wasn't. But yeah, I requested to speak to her, and, I sat down, and she came out, and I stood up, shook her hand, I was very polite. No attitude from any of the other previous situations. I didn't bring that into this conversation because she doesn't know what the fuck's going on with her people or her facilities. It's just her on a Friday getting ready to close down. And I explained the situation to her and how I was treated. And I wasn't trying to be smug or snooty or get my way. It genuinely was just to let her know, this is how I was treated today. This is what your people set me up for. And I don't even want to create an account anymore. This kind of ruined what I had planned. And she tried to win me over a little bit. Not in a, deceptive way. Just very genuinely hearing this. Well, would you like me right now? We could go and create you an account. That's not a problem. And I had to be honest with her. That wasn't my goal. And that's very kind of you to offer to just solve the problem. But let's be honest. If I had this much trouble with my first ever interaction, think about the next time I have to come in. And I don't want any of that to carry over into my future interactions. So it's probably better off that I don't set up an account with you folks. I don't mind taking a no. But it's the way that the no went about when it wasn't really a no. Somebody was willing to set me up. And if it had just been that way from the beginning, it wouldn't have gotten to that point. But the people who were trusted in their roles to do everything they can for their fellow human being, they didn't give a fuck. And I don't know what was going on. I don't know if they were on their period, or they didn't get fucked that morning, or they're having trouble in their home life, or their family member just died. I don't know what's going on for people to be rude, but when I have terrible tragedies happen to me, I don't think I'm going to go out into the world and be like, well, fuck you, because my soup isn't good enough, you bitch. I don't think that's going to be my attitude. And I can't predict that either, but I'm going to do my damnedest to be restrained and not try to hurt anybody or make anybody feel like shit because I feel like shit. Don't forget that we all do go through these experiences eventually. It might take different times, and I say this in a chilling way, but I haven't lost either of my parents yet. So I still kind of have this protection, right? The people who brought me into this world are still here. When I see people who talk about losing their parents, it does send a chill down my spine. Look at Asmongold. He just stopped everything he was doing to go be with his dad. Now his dad's gone. And I wonder how he feels about all the time he spent streaming. If it was valuable, if it robbed him of time with his father, if he spent too much time on worthless tasks. People who, I don't know. I don't want to say aren't worth it, but hopefully these new relationships you've made pan out. In my experience, when you try to forge new relationships, they oftentimes don't work, regardless of the amount of effort that you yourself put into them. I've exuded a shit ton of effort, and it is, more often than not, ended up being a one-sided endeavor. And I'm not mad at the people who can't hack it and they bow out, but at the end of the day, that just means you weren't really trying to be a good friend. Friendship isn't about when it's convenient for you bullshitting around. A friend is somebody who, at 2 in the morning, if you're stranded, you can call them and say, look, I know this is fucked up and I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you. Could you come bail me out of this? And you look at the clock and you see what time it is and you know you got work in a couple of hours, but you also know that they wouldn't have called if it wasn't an emergency, and you won't be able to live with yourself if you say no because they have nobody else, and they wouldn't have called you if they had somebody else. And so you get in your fucking car and you go help them. That's friendship. Caring about somebody's life experiences and the shit that they've gone through. Remembering days that are hard for them. I have a day that's tough for me. And there's really only been one person that's remembered that day. And it hasn't been perfect because as you get older, you forget shit. And that's my mom. Even my dad doesn't fucking remember that shit. And, there's things that people don't know about me or don't notice about me because they don't check in enough or they don't care enough about what's going on with me. But then they wonder why in their own lives they come up short, or the relationships that they do chase when they fizzle out. Who are you now? Where are you at? What have you lost? Have you gained anything worth the trade-off? And that is the kind of shit that scares me. Asmongold has all this money, and he's a very known person, and none of that bought him any more time with his dad. Now he's got to live the rest of his life without his dad. We all eventually get to that point, but I wonder what he would have given for another year with his dad, if there was a way to make it happen, or I wonder if he would have streamed if given that choice. If somebody would have came to him 5 years ago and said, look, you'll stream and you'll become this successful and have all of this, but your dad's also going to die at this point. So you can either spend more time with him now knowing this, or continue down the same path. And, the outcome will be the same regardless, but how you feel about that outcome will change. And nobody should live in fear of when that is going to happen. And there is something freeing, as morbid as that sounds, there's something freeing about when it does happen. That means you don't have to hold on to, is it going to happen or when is it going to happen anymore. Once you've finally allowed that to pass and you've come to terms, which coming to terms and acceptance doesn't mean that you have to be okay with your loss, or when you feel lonely that you're not allowed to feel a certain way. It's just allowing yourself, the same way that our parents did and their parents and so on and so forth. They all had to come to terms with what life was and not let it eat them up. And if they could do that, then we can do the same thing. And that's what they would want for us, is to have a tougher attitude and be compassionate when we can, and use the time that we have left to be good to each other and not eat each other alive over the littlest of shit. You know, whenever you see those people online who they got nothing better to do than to hide behind some random account with no type of pull or any type of momentum, they have nothing behind them except some hollow words that some other account has probably regurgitated at some point in time. Think about the internet, think about life, how long we've all been around, and these smug, swarmy little pricks who think that they mean anything and you don't. You're a fucking bum. I would never be fazed. It doesn't matter. Because all the shit you can say to me, what's that line? You know, I've said worse to myself in the mirror. So there's nothing that a motherfucker can say to me at this point. And all I want to try and do is spend the time that I have left worthy. That's why I moved where I moved. That's why I'm doing what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have a different lifestyle than what I was allowing myself to do. Because my time out on the West Coast was good, but it could have been great. It could have been a lot greater than it was. And in some respects, I could still be out there going to the games in Vegas and having a good time, making a good run of it. I'm reluctant to go back out there. Part of me says I want to go out to California and have a different life. That's the next step. It's the next logical choice for me to get the fuck out of here and go see what that atmosphere is like. Because really, I don't want to say that Michigan doesn't have a talent scene for comedy. And no pun really intended, but I know Sam Talent just moved out here. But for me personally, I don't think Michigan is the best place to be for a comic. I think a lot of good shit has come out of Detroit. I think a lot of good talent in general has come out of Michigan. I mean, I believe one of the owners and creators of Rockstar was born here. And we've had quite a few celebrities from Michigan and weird places be a part of a lot of the nation's development. Or you'll see people from my state hold key positions with companies. So I don't mean it in a begrudging way. It's just, I've never known Michigan to be the heartbeat of comedy. Detroit has a comedy scene, but I don't know a lot of acts coming out of Detroit. Everybody seems to be going to Austin. I know a guy. Shout out to Ken Wood. I'll probably hit him up at some point, see if he wants to come on my shitty little podcast. But Ken, he just moved to Austin. I don't blame him. You gotta strike while the iron's hot, and if you're gonna take yourself seriously and have a following and do something with your life, well, you gotta go actually do it. You can't spend your whole life planning or waiting your turn, or else you're gonna end up 60 and thinking that you could still go professional right now in an acting career. It's not gonna happen. You might get a fucking 1-minute role in a B movie and get paid $3,000 for your time because you fit the parameters of the role they're trying to fill. But that is not a realistic plan. It's not something that you should aspire for either. You shouldn't hold out your whole life for something that may or may not happen. You got to go out there and get your piece. I'm speaking from experience. I spent some time not really getting it when I should have. I've had some great experiences. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sit over here and have a pity party. I'm not the biggest fucking loser. I've had a decent life, but I could have done more. I think about that shit. Missed opportunities with women, career options. There's just so much that looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, this probably would have worked out, or oh, I'm still kicking myself in the ass that I didn't see the NVIDIA thing happening. That I didn't put money that I had, good money, into NVIDIA. I'd be a fucking... I'd be a millionaire right now. I didn't invest in oil. There were stocks I knew that were going to explode. They did. And that sucks. It sucks missing out, knowing that you could have done something and you didn't. Because all I had to do was fucking grip up on some cash really quick, take a chance. But you bullshit yourself and you let time slip away. And I'll tell you, you dumb motherfuckers right now, don't let your time slip by. You're gonna regret it. You're gonna feel bad, and then you're gonna see all these young people living their life, doing stupid shit. That's what you're supposed to do when you're young. You're supposed to be a fucking idiot. And all this control and shit that we keep doing, we're creating a claustrophobic society. We're on the cusp of V for Vendetta. You got common citizens suing the government to find out how many times the cameras are reading their license plate, tracking their activities around a city. That's insane. One guy, it was 542 times or some shit in a month. That's crazy to have your life monitored that way. Meaning there is an actual traceable history of where you were and when. And it's all stored. Just think about that shit. It's not like it's seen and then it's gone. That shit sticks around. None of this shit is temporary anymore. Fuck, it took my old man a while to realize that the time he lived in, where you could go to the bar and try and pick up women and there not be repercussions for saying something maybe a little inappropriate, but it's your way of trying to be smooth or hit on somebody, those days are gone. Now you gotta worry about if the Facebook glasses, some bitch is wearing those and she's live streaming all this, and now your face, this is who you are, and put you on the T-app, and then everywhere you go down the street, it's like, oh, it's that guy who said he wanted to tongue punch a starfish. And it's like, fuck, man. You're creating generations of conditioned people who have no ambition, who are afraid to do anything. It does not surprise me to see the shit going on in the world. Now, the Kirk shit does surprise me. Never saw that coming. And you're seeing kind of a martial law crackdown in certain places, where no longer is there somewhat of a discretion, I should say, when it comes to how things are being policed. Cops are getting aggressive. They don't give a fuck anymore. They are taking over. So if you've been one of those back the blue people this whole time, well, here we go. Here we go! I hope it's everything that, I don't want to say that. That's corny. Because there's no smugness behind what I'm saying. I don't have a problem with law enforcement. But the answer isn't giving your freedoms and choices away to these entities and thinking the problem's going to go away. That's just you not wanting to deal with it because you're lazy. That's you not thinking about everybody else and what's best for everybody else. You don't even know if a decision you make now will be good for you in 5 years. There are too many fucking laws. I don't think Elon and his team of weirdos were the right idea. You know, Adrian Dittman and his loyal 4chaners with ties to China and Russia and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that was a good idea. But the idea of somebody going in and starting to purge a lot of laws so that we can have somewhat of a legal reset. I don't want to, allow murderers out onto the streets. But some of these absurd parking laws, or maybe reevaluating how we have structured our planet. I've got streetlights that take 2.5 minutes to change. That's fucking insane that I have to idle at a light and waste that much of my life if I catch that light. Who in their right mind designs something like that? How fucking stupid do you gotta be? 2.5 minutes. And then when you finally get the green, you get 30 seconds. Imagine that. Some streets shouldn't even have a fucking light. And don't get me started on the roundabouts. Didn't we throw a bunch of tea off a boat so that we wouldn't have to live like those across the pond? And now we're turning everything into fucking Brit designs. We've got these UK, European influences creeping into our substructures. I don't understand. Next thing you know, we're going to be living like China or Japan with all these micro houses that's just like a bed and a tube that you pay $2,000 a month to live in. You don't even have room for a fucking house plan. It's just you and the tube. You want a game? They've got a VR fucking set. It's an extra $1,000. And if you don't want to live in a tube, you want to live in a cube, it's $10,000 a month. Tube or cube, dude? I don't think so. Fuck a tiny home. You're living in a crate. That's cool in the movies when the guy drives on his motorcycle to a undisclosed location, and when he opens it up, it's got like $100,000 worth of shit inside of it, and guns, and a pool table, and he's got a dog, and that's not you in your tiny home. That's you figuring out, how can I abandon any commitment to life? How can I be a bum? And who knows, maybe I'll be a bum one day. Something I'd like to do. Don't know when I'll do it, but if my body would hold out, because that's another thing that sucks about getting older. I'm not even old, and I'm already starting to have knee issues. That shit's fucking with my head. Because I'll tell you this right now, try fucking doggy style with a bad knee. Just try it, and let me know how you feel. Your options start to get limited, and you can do everything possible to take care of your health. I haven't been doing bad shit. It's just, sometimes, it is what it is. So you can take that with a grain of salt or not, but really, take care of your motherfucking self. You never know. If you want to go swimming, go today. Don't think that you're going to be able to go swimming in a week. If it's a nice day out and you can figure it out, do it. Call into work last second and say, look, I have a family emergency. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get written up. I can't come in today. I don't mean to leave you hanging. It just isn't happening. Okay? And go in that fucking water and have a good time and smoke one for me. But don't sell your fucking soul every day of the week. You gotta take that time, and I'm not saying you can do it every time, because you play that line too much, you say, oh no, I have space aids. They're just gonna say, all right, well, don't come in tomorrow. You've been getting sick too much. We need somebody a little more consistent. Just play the game and play it well. Because nobody is out here to do you any favors or be your buddy. That's one mistake I've made plenty of times. You go somewhere, you work, you want to be friendly, you start getting to know people, and then all of a sudden, they're stabbing you in the fucking back. No point asking why. Because we all know, at the end of the day, what the real reason is. Either people want something that you have, or they're afraid you'll take something from them. Even if that's the last thing on your fucking mind. But try convincing somebody of that, right? Try getting somebody to have the rationale that you're just trying to be cool with them, not fuck up what they got going on, and that you're better together than alone. It'll fall on deaf ears most of the time. I think one of the most chilling things in my life is even when I know something is going to play out a certain way, I still want to see how it's going to play out. Do you know what I mean? I'll give you an example. There are those chess games, right? And there's other games that do this too, but I'm just going to use chess for an example. Or like solitaire, or where you can watch an automated version of the game. But there's also a way to skip it. Kind of like a video game cutscene too, right? You can let the cutscene play out, or you can skip it. It's the same exact thing here. You can skip that shit. No, I just don't know anymore, man. I do my best to not argue, to not have an attitude, to not want to get into it with anybody. And some people are just hell-bent on fucking it all up. And I don't want to hold on to anger for anybody. If that's what you want to do, right the fuck on. Go do it over there. Don't fuck with me. Yeah. You know, sometimes it's a bit of a mystery, right? But you gotta do what's best for you. Protect yourself. Don't fall victim to stupid shit. Don't let people put you in a bad position. I mean, I got a lot of love for people, but it doesn't mean I don't see things from every perspective. I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little burnt out. Because I've been cooking with some fire over here for a minute. Like, I've been going in. The just at the end of the day, I think we've all had enough of bad actors. Just, you try your best to be kind, and it doesn't always get you where you want to go, but that doesn't mean you stop being kind. That's what they want. They want you to give in and come down to their level. You have to be stronger than that. I've gotten better at seeing it ahead of time and knowing how to avoid it. But again, sometimes you want to see how it's going to play out. You don't want to skip the cutscene. You want to see how it's going to play out. And you go through with the entire experience, even though you've seen it many times before. This isn't your first playthrough. You give it a go. But knowing what's going to happen really doesn't help. My mom said a long time ago, maybe she got it from somewhere else, but I heard it from her. Never feel bad about doing the right thing. And that's fucking true. But there are subjective rights and objective rights. There's also inherent rights, but that's kind of a different story. Now, I'm the last guy to sit over here and, again, play Mr. Know-It-All, but I hear too many quacks yapping as if they are the second coming of Christ, and they're not. You're just another bozo with a mouthpiece, like me. Now, if you can be a happy bozo and take some ownership with it, hey, that makes you a better person. Joe Rogan is kind of like that. Even though he's starting to kind of be honest with the fact that he might be a deep state puppet, or that he's been getting puppeteered unbeknownst to him. And I don't think he's a bad guy, but why haven't you had Nick Mullen or Sam Hyde on? What's going on there? Those are two of the funniest guys to ever do it. But instead, you're gonna have somebody from your posse on for like the 20th fucking time. Like, I'm sorry, bro, but the momentum has shifted. I think one of the most beautiful things to come out of post-COVID is Adam Friedland being empowered enough to get as cocky as he's become. But with Kimmel getting canceled, what's next? Is YouTube going to start cracking down heavier? Is Patreon going to start having more restriction for paid content? Are they going to start letting their creators know just because you can paywall things doesn't mean we will support you if someone who pays for your stuff has a problem with it? And if the cost of corrupting everything you've built is $5, I think there are plenty of people who will pay that price just to say that you offended them. And now quantify that by groups of people who don't like you, and now it becomes target, like a targeted harassment campaign. What side of the fence are the laws going to be on? That's the part that I guess I'm confused. Because again, you can look at it one way, that a private network has the right to terminate contracts with anybody as it sees fit. Nobody made a big stink when it happened to Sam Hyde. And you could sit there and say, oh, well, he just did a comedy show, a low-budget comedy show for a low-budget subsidiary of Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. That's not as relevant or as important as Jimmy Kimmel. He's late night. That's a staple of America. Fuck you. Fuck you, little bud. What are you talking about? What kind of Tucker Carlson bullshit is that? What is going on? What are we talking about? What are we doing? This is absurd. When it happened to Sam, barely anybody blinked a fucking eye. And you still got old Timmy. Old Tiny Tim. With his network crutch. You fucking bitch. You guys spent years making cringe content. And you had the guy who was going to be, well, he is without you, but you had him right when he was going to become the next you and go even further than you did with it. And you take his knees out, sweep his legs out from under him, and sabotage everything that he helped build for you. It's not like Sam was the entire face of Adult Swim, but you can't discount what MDE was. And nobody gave a fuck when it happened to Sam. But we're supposed to care about one of the late night hosts in the same capacity as Kirk? I don't see the through line there. I can't thread that needle. You gotta think about how we behaved before you try to dictate how we should behave in the future. Because it's great to put out a post that makes you feel good and gets a bunch of likes and retweets, but there's nothing behind it. You should actually want to do something. And unfortunately, that's just not enough for me. Now we're coming up on that time. I was able to do a full hour this week. Hope you enjoy it. Remember, patreon.com/thisiscomedy. We're also on YouTube and Spotify. 5 episodes deep. And I don't care if anybody thinks I'm corny, I'll say it again. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. We'll see you motherfuckers next week.